Digital and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock. This is Gabby Logan on 5 Live with news and sport from around the UK. Also today, science is under the microscope, with an inquiry being launched after Climategate when scientists' emails were hacked into by global warming sceptics. We'll ask how damaging the whole scandal has been to the reporting of science. An inquiry has been launched into Climategate, the hacking of scientists' emails that fueled scepticism about global warming. Samir Russell will head an independent body which will ask how messages from the University of East Anglia found their way onto the internet. We'll be looking at how this scandal has affected the way science is reported. First of all, though, let's speak to Mike Hume, who's Professor of Climate Change at the School of Environmental Sciences at the University of East Anglia, and Richard North, who is a political analyst and climate change sceptic. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hello, good afternoon.
Mike, are you pleased that this inquiry is being launched? What are you hoping that it will achieve?
Yes, I think it's important for an independent inquiry now to go through all of the various allegations and charges that have been made in this country and around the world. This has been a big issue in climate science and in climate policy, and I think it's entirely appropriate for a careful, thorough, independent investigation to see what has been going on both inside the university but also much more broadly in the difficult and complex world of climate politics.
Richard, what's your take on what happened at the University of East Anglia?
Yeah, actually, I agree with Mike there. As regards the university itself, it's just one part, small part of a very, very, very big picture, so Mike's got it absolutely bang to rights. This is a global issue. The sponsoring organisation, the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, is a global institution. The university's feeding into this, so that you have to look at the issue in the round, of which Climategate, as it's called, is just one small facet. What concerns me is that there is a tendency to isolate this as a single episode, divorced from the rest, but it isn't. It's part of a continuum. So really, we need the investigation here to mesh in with a bigger picture and to look at the broader issues surrounding the whole of climate politics, which are phenomenally complex but affect everybody in their electricity bills and the way they live. So it is vitally important that we see that big picture.
Mike, how much damage has this done, do you think, to the debate on climate change?
Well, I think it has raised questions in people's minds, just ordinary members of the public, and quite understandably so, when allegations like this are made. And so in that sense, it has done some damage. How enduring that damage is, I think, will depend on the outcome of the inquiry. And also, as Richard comments, how the IPCC also now responds. A number of errors have been identified in its most recent report, and the IPCC needs to take that very seriously and work hard to rebuild and to demonstrate that the public and politicians can trust the scientific evidence that is being brought into public debate around climate change. And that's not an easy thing to do, to restore trust that has been damaged.
Why did you chuckle then, Richard?
Well, before I came here, I was reading the transcript of an interview from Mike to the BBC in 2007, where Mike himself said that the IPCC is a political process. And
absolutely, it is.
Yeah, and that's the issue. The science isn't the issue here. It is the politics of science and the science of politics, if you like. And we are looking at a political process, so in a sense this has to be a political inquiry as to see how the science has been distorted where it has been, where there's been straight science, and try and understand the political background of which Climategate is.
Do you think,
part.
Richard, that's taking scientists into an area that they're just totally uncomfortable with? Because
no, I mean, anybody who's been in academia knows that science is intensely political, especially as the main push within scientific departments is funding and getting money and satisfying your paymasters. So to try and pretend that somehow science and politics are separate is a pastiche. It simply exists only in storybooks.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd agree with you, Richard, there. But we've got to find good ways of actually bringing scientific evidence into public policy debates. We can't simply accept that science will do its business in its own sphere of influence. There's got to be a process whereby scientific evidence and high quality, robust scientific evidence, with all of the uncertainties attached to it, that has to be brought into a public debate. And the IPCC, I mean, I do think actually the IPCC is probably past its sell-by date. I mean, I've been writing this recently, but we do have to find a better, stronger, more appropriate way of bringing scientific evidence, because it's absolutely crucial part of the debate. It's not the final word. Science never actually dictates policy, but we have to have high quality scientific evidence.
But Mike,
Richard and Mike, can I just hold you both there for a couple of minutes? We're going to have some travel news and we'll come back to this. Lindsay, could you just give some travel news, please?
Yes, thank you, Gabby. Problems because of snow in Kent this morning. The M20 coastbound at junction 11A, that's affected. The exit slip road has been closed. Several lorries have jackknifed there on the slip road. However, apart from a short queue at junction 11A past that slip road, it is starting to look a bit better actually. Traffic continuing down the M20 and the A20 towards Dover, that's starting to ease. The A2 Dover Road, that's hardly moving though, getting reports of long delays of about an hour there coastbound between the A260 at Women's World and Dover. The A27 Lewis Road, that's affected between Polegate and Pevensey. Also the A259 between Eastbourne and Hastings. Now, because of the snow, Eurotunnel, they've suspended all services at Folkestone at the moment until they can clear the snow off the terminal there.
So we're talking about Climategate. Mike Hume, Professor of Climate Change at the School of Environmental Sciences at the University of East Anglia, and Richard North, who's a political analyst and climate change sceptic, are staying with me. But can I bring in Roger Harriban, who is the BBC's environmental analyst, who's been at the briefing about the inquiry which was launched today. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What impact do you think has this row had on the way climate change specifically is being reported?
Well, I think it's had a huge impact. As you've just heard, science is on the front pages, and a lot of scientists are very uncomfortable about that. It's extremely difficult to conduct the very, very complicated and nuanced debates about the science and policy of climate change through sound bites of 5 or 10 seconds. I say extremely difficult. I mean, frankly, it is impossible, and that is what tends to happen. So we face a choice of either debating it in a tabloid way, which is unsatisfactory, or not debating it at all, which is also unsatisfactory. But I mean, should we talk for a minute, do you think, about the inquiry that's just been, the terms of which have been launched today? Do you want to hear about that first?
Yes, tell me a bit about that.
Okay, well, I mean, we know about the Climategate affair with the stolen emails showing the scientists blocking access to their data. That's quite clear, and they no longer deny that. They don't deny that. They also appear to show them trying to unfairly influence the debate and the way their colleagues are perceived in the debate and rivals are perceived, and they do deny that. And this inquiry, funded by the University of East Anglia, said to be completely independent by the man who chairs it, Sir Muir Russell, former principal of Glasgow University, will look into exactly what the scientists at UEA did in the Climategate affair. Did they abuse data? Did they manipulate data? Did they overstep the mark? This is an inquiry about best scientific practice, and it will measure against, and quite interestingly, not just against what would be considered to be best practice now, but against what would be best practice then 20 years ago when a lot of the Climategate emails began.